Welcome to another installment of 5-Minute Tones. In today's video, I want to take a look at the Triaxis models in the FM3. We have essentially most of the modes from the Triaxis. I think there might be one or two missing, but the two that I use on my Triaxis all the time are the clean mode and, of course, the Mark II C+ lead to yellow mode. So let's go in and dial those in. Let's start with the USA Pre-Clean. I have my 1977 Fender Strat with Sir Michael Landau pickups plugged in at the moment. I'm on the neck and middle combination. And if we take the USA Pre-Clean at stock settings and then add these factory York audio cabs, basically a 57 and 121 blend, I've set the low cut to 80 Hertz. Everything else is stock. We've got that kind of pristine clean sound from the late 80s, early 90s. Pretty cool, but it could do with just a little bit of dialing in. This guitar's pretty mellow, so I will bump the input drive. I'll lower the bass and the mid-range a little bit, and I'll just bump the treble. One thing I love to do with clean sounds is go to the Dynamics tab and add just a little bit of output compression. Let's hear how that sounds. That's feeling really, really good. What I'm going to do next is just add an optical compressor in front of all of that, and we will put a multi-delay at the back of it. What I've done with this multi-delay, though, is set each of the delay times to be very short, and then I add chorus to each of those voices. So basically, we have a quad chorus. Tri-chorus was the thing in the 80s. Let's go one step further and have a quad chorus. Check this out. I'm hitting save on that because that is glorious and sparkly. Let's go to scene 2, and we're going to set up the lead to yellow mode here. I'm going to swap over to my PRS single cut so that I can have some humbuckers. So the real Triaxis is obviously a preamp and not an entire amplifier head. Instead of the classic mess of 5-band graphic EQ, it had a control called dynamic voice. Now we have the 5-band graphic EQ here in the model, so you could argue the model is even more flexible than the real thing. The preamp itself had a presence control which is mapped onto this high treble control on the ideal controls. So let's get straight into that. At the stock settings, it's okay, but nothing compared to what we would normally associate with that classic, thick, juicy Triaxis sound. So what I like to do is crank the overdrive all the way up because I like gain, bass all the way down, mid-range down somewhere between 1 and 2, crank the treble because these are pre-gain. They're going to act essentially like a control or a set of controls that shape the texture of the distortion. I like to bump the high treble a bit, but bring the presence down so it's a little bit smoother. And then let's go to the output EQ and we will do the classic kind of V thing. I normally go for about 3 dB here, -3. These are just my personal preferences with these controls. By all means, use your ears and play around with these depending on your rig. And I like to bump 2200. We've got a great high gain distortion sound now. Awesome. One thing that I do like to do though is go to the Ideal tab and engage the fat switch. This is going to be great for leads. And then in the multi-delay block, what I've done on channel B, there's a little bit of chorusing on voices 3 and 4, but I've got a traditional kind of quarter note, dotted eighth note dual delay that's panned out, and we get a gloriously thick lead sound now. that's the good stuff right there. You could go even further and go to the preamp tab and add an input boost. I love the CC boost in front of this amp. You could also play around with the low cut frequency and bring it up to like 200 hertz if you wanted to go really deep with this. Let's check that out. It's a really wonderful thing. The real Triaxis is a great preamp, and the models in here sound pretty much spot on. In fact, they're even more flexible because we can tailor that pre-EQ. We've got things like the fat switch and the input boost, and of course we can get closer to, I guess, a traditional Mesa Mark series sound with that 5-band graphic EQ. I'm going to play this for the rest of the afternoon. I would encourage you to check these models out as well. Thank you so much for watching the video. I'll see you next time.